Yeah. So, okay. Let's start. Hello, and good afternoon to my fellow classmates, our beloved lecturers, and also to the two viewers at home. I'm Phúc Wei, Leanne, Irvin, Chan Hong, and Lenny. Today, we're going to talk about a company that owns Fisher Price, Barbie, and Hot Wheels. Can someone give me the name of this parent company?
Mattel.
Thank you very much, guys. It's Mattel! Yes! So, anyway, since we'll be talking about a toy company, we brought some of the products along. Barbie and Hot Wheels for everyone. Yay!
Yay.
This, you give a shot.
Let's see the Barbie.
Barbie is very popular, you see. Anyway, so here's the content of what we're going to talk about. We go into the background of Mattel, then we talk a bit about, give you an idea of what business culture is, followed by Trompeter's model, the model that we will be using for this presentation. We'll ask the important question of, did Mattel adapt to the local needs of the Chinese people? Then be followed by key issues, followed by implications of what are the lessons learned, and then the conclusion. And so here we go.
Okay, so to start it off, I will give you a brief introduction to the company Mattel. So they are a toy manufacturer in the consumer products industry, and they were founded in 1945 in the US. And these are some of the brands as before mentioned. Also, only in 2013 and 2014, they were dubbed one of the world's most ethical companies. Okay, so here's a bit of information about Barbie. It is one of the most iconic toys in the US, and it was first launched in 1959. And one thing that I think most of us wouldn't know is that Barbie's full name is Barbara Millicent Barbie Roberts. Yep, that's her full name. And these are some of the Barbie-related products that are available in the market. Okay, so this is a brief definition of business culture, just to know what it is. It is the cultural patterns that influence or adapt to their business environments, and this definition is by Deal and Kennedy. Okay, so different countries have different cultures, and by extension, there will be different business cultures as well. Okay, so the model that we will be using today is the Trompeter's model of national culture differences. There are 7 dimensions to this model, but we will only be focusing on 3 of these dimensions. So the first one is individualism versus collectivism, which is whether do we function better alone or do we function better in a group. The next one, universalism versus particularism. Okay, so this one, which is more important, rules or relationships? And the third one that we're going to be focusing on is internal direction versus external direction. So do we control the environment or are we controlled by the environment? And these are the 4 other dimensions of the Trompeter's model, but we won't be touching on them today.
So the gist of our talk today will be about, did Mattel adapt to the local needs of the Chinese people? We're going to show that in the beginning, no they did not, and later on they did. So we'll go into the first issue, the Barbie standalone store in China. According to Trompeter's model, Americans are individualistic in nature. They're all very focused on self-fulfillment and individual achievement. To them, it's important to look good, they're publicly expressive, and they're avid consumers of products. Barbie is one of such products because it really got on well with the American culture and lifestyle. It's one of the reasons why Mattel is very successful in America, and they have lots and lots of stores there. China, on the other hand, is collectivistic in nature. They are generally more group-oriented and less expressive in public. You don't see them hugging or kissing in the middle of the street like you do in China. Sad to say. Anyway, China is huge. Yes, about 1.4 billion people in China alone. That's roughly around 20% of the world population. It's a very lucrative market. It's a big market. Because of this, Mattel tried and went in 2009. They built a 36,000 square feet, 6-story building, standalone building, that sold everything Barbie, shirts, t-shirts, and everything. They built it on Shanghai's most expensive street. The problem is, it failed. It failed horribly. Why? Because they did not localize their product properly. What Mattel did when they brought in their product, Barbie, is they brought in their culture and values into China. They did not adapt to the local customs. That was the problem. They failed horribly localizing product, and they failed to understand the Chinese society. The Chinese parents were not that interested in paying very high price, because this is a toy brought in from America, for a toy that was not in any way educational for the kids. Argentina is another country that's, according to Trumpeter model, that is collectivistic in nature. But the thing is, the difference between Argentina and China is that Argentinians are more publicly expressive compared to China. They're all more social. Mattel went into this into Argentina 2 years before they went into China. They built a same standalone store that sold everything Barbie, and it did tremendously well. Why? Because they adapted to the local custom. They knew what Argentinians wanted, and they made products for them. One of the reasons is because the cultures are very in sync. Argentinians and Americans, they are very publicly expressive. It's very important for them to look good. Thank you. So they did very well here. Here's a small graph of sales by Mattel by regions. We couldn't find by country. As you can see, red is Latin America, which is quite huge compared to Asia Pacific, where China is, which is considered very small.
Okay, so in the second issue, I will show you how Barbie was tainted by corruption in China. It was tainted, in a way you can say it was literally tainted. Okay, so in the US, there are stringent safety regulations that they have to follow very, very closely. And also, their corruption rate is very low in the US. Okay, so Mattel in the US has their own guidelines and their own code of conduct. They call it the Mattel Code of Conduct, and it covers issues such as wages, child labor, and forced labor, just to name a few. Okay, and so that was universalism, and for particularism, we have China over here. So China places more emphasis on relationships as opposed to rules. And this is one of the main reasons why China is actually very highly corrupted today. Because, friends, they try to they'll make business deals based on friendships and relationships. So in 2007, Mattel's products, Mattel's products were deemed unsafe because the paint that they used for the products had traces of lead in them. So what actually happened was this man here, his name is Lee, he purchased paint from a paint supplier whom he was very close with. They were actually friends. Okay? And in exchange, he actually received a large sum of money. But consequently, the paint that they received to manufacture the products was of lower quality and it contained lead. So as we know, lead is harmful and it's very dangerous. And what happened from that was Mattel had to do a product recall of 21 million toys worldwide. And as you can see here, this is the Corruption Perception Index. China is ranked number 80, whereas US is ranked number 19. So basically, the lower your ranking is, the more corrupted the country is. And China is much more corrupted than US is.
So with all these problems that we've listed out so far, the question is, can Barbie succeed in China? In US, Mattel created Barbie, quite early on in the years, and they developed a Barbie culture and sometimes they even made an obsession among the population for their product. So in this way, instead of letting the culture influence them, Mattel introduced to the American people their own culture, and they created the environment for their own success. So they controlled the environment. For China, on the other hand, they did not bring the same influence into the country. Upon entering the market, their Barbie product did not meet with the local needs. And because it was due to the overwhelming cultural differences, For here, the example would be because now most of the toys are overpriced and it's not what the locals wanted. And how did Mattel change this? They did change it in the end. They changed from external to internal. And one of the ways is they set a more reasonable price for their toys. And also they introduced a more culturally relevant toy, the violin soloist Barbie. They did quite well actually. So we come to the implications. So what are the lessons learned from this? First thing is you have to understand the local culture. For international companies, when you go into a different country, you have to know the local culture, or else you'll be repeating the same mistake that Mattel did in China.
Okay, and as we know, corruption has many negative political, economic, and social effects. And just to name a few, it actually causes political instability. It also reduces the government legitimacy, and it can also deplete the national wealth. And at the same time, it causes a lack of trust among the society itself, and demanding and bribing can become a norm when you have corruption there. Okay, so with a company as big as Mattel, it is inevitable that they'll be under constant public scrutiny. So with Mattel, for example, they were criticized for instilling a sense of materialism in the younger generation, and they also projected unrealistic ideas of body image with Barbie towards the younger generation, especially with younger girls. So as you can see here, a company's impact on its surroundings would also have an effect on the company back onto the company itself. And this will lead to public acceptance or rejection. And in this case, in China, they were rejected in the beginning, but much later on, they were accepted.
So to conclude, in the beginning, Mattel was overconfident and entered China without truly understanding the local culture, and they did not adapt their product to the local customs. And this caused them to tarnish their image and to lose a lot of revenue. Later on, they did, and they're slowly regaining the public's acceptance over there. Thank you very much, and it's now
Okay, you guys, any question for them? Yeah.
Yes. Yes, how about?
Do you think children in China will want Barbie as their toys?
So I will answer that question. So the answer basically is yes, because although the first time they try to enter in the market of China and they are not so accepted because of their cultural differences. As what my groupmate said, China, the people in there is not so publicly expressive. That's why at first they are failed. So when the second time they're trying to re-enter the market, Mattel already introduced new Barbies, which their name is educational Barbies, and slowly they're accepted by the parents and slowly even their children. So the violin soloist Barbie were very accepted after a few years they introduced this doll in China. So the answer is yes.
Any other questions? Yes, Bob.
Can Mattel bring in other of their product other than Barbie to China?
Yes, it's very good.
Yeah.
Okay, for your question, the answer is yes. Because Mattel has learned their lesson from their first failure in China. So now they are more able to bring in the product. And for example, they already bring in the toys like Hot Wheels in China and it's doing well now. So the answer is yes.
Thank you, Han. Question. Miss Laura.
As a whole, after you've done your presentation, to the subject of business culture. So now what is the culture, what is the challenge involved in culture management in this case?
Excellent question. Give us a minute.
Okay, so maybe let's say, can I use back Mattel as an example?
Yes,
Okay.
naturally.
So if let's say you are using a Western company, when you try to enter an Asian market, there is a huge cultural difference there. But okay, let's say with China for example, right? We know that limitations, things like information doesn't really go in and out of China that much because of the government rules. So when, let's say, Mattel wants to find out information on China, they already have like a mindset of what China actually is, but that might not be what China in truth, in reality is, because of the lack of information that they can get from China itself. So maybe what Mattel should have done is they should have sent representatives into China first, study the local culture firsthand, as opposed to trying to just find information maybe from Google or from other sites. Because we know numbers, sometimes they don't portray in reality itself. Does that answer your question?
Wow. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
Good day.